Welcome to The Little Things You Hear Together, where we dive deep into Broadway Cast albums to figure out why some hit harder than others. I'm Alex Asp, and my guest today is Jonathan Chisolm. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, well, thank you for having me.
This is one of my personal favorite albums for the season that often does not get a lot of love, but what are we talking about today?
We're talking about War Paint.
Yes, the wonderful 2017 Broadway diva off between Christine Ebersol and Patti LuPone. And I understand people not liking this show as much because it maybe is not the cleanest as far as a book writing standpoint, but it's doing what it needs to do and giving us Patty and Christine belting their faces off for 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I would agree with that statement wholeheartedly. I mean, I didn't get a chance to see it, unfortunately, but like the album was exactly kind of what I was expecting from both of them, for sure. Not to play my hand too soon.
Yeah, I think they both sound incredible, and we'll talk about that more as we go through, I'm sure. This is also an interesting reunion of Christine Ebersol with Scott Frankel and Michael Corey, who were the songwriting team for Grey Gardens, which was 2008, I believe. So after a little bit apart, they're back together, and she definitely sounds wonderful singing their music.
They really know how to write for not only her voice, but for what she does really well as an actress.
hmm Yeah, I think they just have a very unique style that I really enjoy. I haven't listened to their other collaboration as much, Far From Heaven with Kelly O'Hara, which,
Yeah, that one's still like a blind spot for me as well. I keep meaning to. It's
yeah,
just
same. I mean, it wasn't on Broadway, so it doesn't have the same attention as others,
right.
but I like them, so I really should give it more of a try.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about the album, which was produced by Ghostlight Records. Kurt Deutsch and others were the producers. Todd Whitelock was the engineer. So I'm starting to see some patterns of familiar names, like Kurt Deutsch, I think, produced a few albums from this season. So that'll be more interesting as we go along by mentioning it, because eventually we'll see the patterns emerge as we do more of these albums.
Right. Well, he's the producer du jour. He still is, I'm pretty sure. So
Yeah, he's definitely one of the big ones now, especially the Thomas D. Shepard and Goddard Lieberson, the old school icons who kind of established a lot of the cast album style, and they have turned things over to a new generation, and it's fun to see how it's evolving still.
yeah, yeah. I mean they get all the good. I'm just happy they record. They are really good about recording pretty much everything, which is nice.
Yeah. So, what is your relationship to this album and show?
Okay, so this was 2017. So I remember watching the Tony performance. I was out in Montana. I'm a performer, if that wasn't obvious by my theatricality of speaking. And we had the evening off from rehearsal, so we all watched the Tonys together. And of course, this was the year of Hello Dolly, famously.
hmm
And I remember everyone being very disappointed when David Hyde Pierce sang Penny in My Pocket because everyone wanted to see Bet. And then Bet had the audacity to walk out from behind the curtain anyway. But then Patty, I don't know if it was before or after, but I remember Patty and Christine came out and did Face to Face, which was exactly what everyone wanted. And I think it made everyone much happier.
It definitely gives you what you want.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But that was, I mean, I had heard about it because I am an admirer of both of these women. Any like personal things aside, their professional talents are remarkable, and they obviously have had staying power in the industry. And as a performer, that is something that is to be admired for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I was lucky enough to see this on Broadway because
So
I
jealous.
knew nothing about it other than that I loved the two leading ladies, and it was a fantastic show. But I really feel like the album, spoiling my hand again, the album gives you a really good sense of the story. Like, despite only being, half of the show, you get all the salient points that you really need to follow it. And that's something I really value in an album. For when you can't see the show, you still have that feeling of a theater piece, not just a collection of songs.
Yeah, I can understand that for sure. And I guess it helps. I mean, it helps and is hindered by the fact that the show is a little bit book reporty. Just a just in terms of like this happened. I mean, it's just the way it is when you're dealing with something that is a history, and if you want to stay true to the history, which they seem to be that seemed to be the consent for the show.
Yeah, I don't think this falls into that trap as much as some others do, but it definitely does follow that trope a bit more than some people would like, especially. I think
Yeah.
a lot more of what they do a better job than a lot of shows at tying those things into the story still, rather than oh, we're mentioning this thing so you know that we did our homework. It's at least a little bit better than that.
Oh, I would agree with that for sure.
Yeah, and this I have come to realize over the years that whether or not I like a show depends quite a lot on how I feel about the score, and that is first and foremost what I care about when evaluating a piece of theater. So, this show I think is fantastic because I love the music, but then, if you really get down to it, yeah, there are things that maybe it shouldn't work, but I don't care because I like the music. So, that's what's fun to have that, to gain insight into what matters to you and why you like things you like.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Scott Frankel has always seemed to write, he's one of those contemporary musical theater composers who seems to walk really closely between a more legit, like, opera world and musical theater and, like, contemporary opera, not like, obviously, like, Wagnerian opera or whatever. So his compositions always feel a little bit elevated by especially by comparison to, like, a lot of the more pop centric scores that we get
Yeah.
in the post 2000s era. So I mean, even Grey Gardens, so Far From Heaven, what I've heard from it is the same way, and I'm always interested to hear. I can't wait to hear what he does next. I hope he's working on something I
Yeah.
actually haven't heard, but
Yeah, it's always very elegant music, which is
yeah,
pleasant in a world that is often not.
yeah, I would agree with that.
So, for the most part, I'm not interested in diving into how much of the show is factual versus fictional. We have limited time and there are other podcasts that have gotten into that. So, we won't be focusing too much on that as we go through here, but we might bring up a few things along the way. So, on first blush, makeup is an interesting topic for a musical because, I mean, it's really about the women, but it's about how they interact with makeup. And really, there's a lot that you can get into with that, which they sort of do as far as self-expression versus respectability versus, fitting in versus pure value in how you look. I do wish we kind of got a little bit more of that throughout the show. It's not as featured as I think they could have gone.
Yeah, I think that as someone who wears makeup regularly, it is an interesting trend to observe how, as society, through time, we have evolved to realize that makeup isn't just for to put it bluntly, whores.
Yeah, because that's where it started, whores and actors.
Yeah, 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 exactly. And these women found a way in a time before women could even vote in this country to, like, use that to, like, help women primarily, but I'm sure there were men too. There's always been people, and to help them find to be the best version of themselves. And yes, they were making a profit off of it. And yes, they weren't helping other women necessarily, come up with them. But it is an interesting evolution that we're even to today, where, like, even people who, like, on the street, you'll still have somebody just, like, with a nice, have, like, a foundation on or whatever.
Yeah, it's definitely changed over time in lots of different ways, both styles and approaches to makeup as a form of expression versus, the other things that it can do for somebody. So I think it is interesting, and like I said, I wish we got more of that, but we'll talk about that as we go through because there are bits of it here and there. I feel like most of what I want to say is kind of based in the tracks. So should we just dive in?
Let's do it.
Does my eyeshadow go with my clothes? Are my crow's feet a mortal disaster? Do my pores need foundation or plaster? Am I putting my best face forward?
So the opening number is Best Face Forward, which it starts off with a nice jazzy brass fanfare of sorts, which is always fun. And it's not really an overture, it's less than a minute of instrumental music before the singing starts to kind of serve the
Right.
function of an overture, I guess. But then, what do you think about the choice to start with this ethereal infomercial type voice as coming in? And that's our first introduction to the show.
I think that this is, like, maybe the best situation you can do for a show like this. I think you're like, this is what we're going to be talking about, and these are the women we're going to be talking about. So let's just put it, like, right plain. And I know that from a little history that the opening number changed between Chicago and Broadway. So it was
Yeah.
obviously something they were trying to figure out.
And it sounds like this worked much better, at least according to Ben Brantley, who mentioned both in his review.
That's true.
Yeah, I guess they originally were just kind of sitting at makeup tables on stage, and instead they went to this big ensemble number first, which I think is good. We're kind of setting the stage before the main stars come out, and we're getting an idea of the world that we're stepping into, which is always good for an opening number.
Right. And it also, I mean, it establishes like the women that these women are catering to a certain degree. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah. Yeah, and as we're going through the snarky comments from these voices that are, off stage is just so funny. Like,
You, not them, madam. You. Has your husband lost interest? Is he making small talk with hat-check girls?
How did you know?
Might it be the fault of your appearance?
I'm like, oh, okay, we're just going in on it. But so this show is, to your point earlier about kind of the elevated, elegant, almost operatic quality of the music. This is a very stylized, almost to the point of camp show. And so you get these really hilarious line deliveries like, how did you know? And it's so dramatic. And I laugh every time because it's just,
right.
it's beautiful.
Yeah, and it's also, I mean, it's in the period too. I mean, like, that's the acting style of that period. So I mean, like, it's
Yeah.
not out of thin air. The quote that I always heard from, I forget, some gossip person said, it's a show written by gays over 40 for gays over 40, which I don't know how that, relates to, us necessarily, but yeah, there's a certain level of camp and tongue in cheek for sure.
Yeah. And we get fun, kind of catchy lyrics like, do my pores need foundation or plaster? That's just funny. Like, I love
It
people who
is.
play.
Oh, yeah, Michael Corey, man. Good.
Yeah.
He's solid rhymes throughout this entire show.
Yeah. This is, again, skipping ahead to the end, I think very strong lyrics in the sense that they are serving what they need to, sometimes stepping out and jumping to do it, something more showy. But yeah, I love that we're getting these bits of music. It is kind of jarring, I think, on the album alone that the singing keeps getting broken up. And so we never really get into a rhythm.
Right.
It could come off as a little clunky, I think. I recall it being more smooth on stage when you have the visuals to go along with it.
Whomever I may pass, on the street, the store, or classroom, both men and women judging me, society begrudging me, my right to age with grace.
But it's establishing the mindset of the customers, of the world that we're about to get into more with the next track, Behind the Red Door. Because Elizabeth Arden's salon famously had a bright red door that was its iconic flagship store. And this, now we're setting, we got the mindset of the customers before, and now we're getting into the world, the physical location, and all the women coming around to, essentially it's like her workers and customers together before she arrives, which is, I think, nice to let her have a big entrance in the song.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
Enter Miss Arden's temple to beauty, serving your every need is our duty. May you enjoy the full day you have in store behind the red door.
And it's kind of like, it feels, again, not because Dolly was also on the season, but it feels a little bit like that. It's like, oh, she's coming. And then she's here and she walks down a staircase and,
Yeah. And
she's in pink instead of red,
Right. And I love that they were smart enough to realize no matter what you do, with the way the show is especially, these two women are going to get applause when they enter. Don't work against it, work with it. And so they both get dramatic entrances with the music being written as such that it doesn't matter if the audience is clapping, you're not going to miss anything for a few seconds.
Absolutely. And with anybody, when you have a star performer, star in quotations, because I know a lot of them don't like being called that, but it is what it is. You have to, those are things you have to account for. I mean, a lot of times I know actors would be like, okay, they're going to applaud. Let's just wait it out. Let's figure out a way to get it in and then move on, kind of like. And that's kind of what it feels like. It's like, we know you're here to see us and we're happy you're here. Now let's tell the story.
Right. The worst I've ever experienced was for Hugh Jackman in The Music Man, when Harold Hill presents himself, and it was just so awkward how long he had to stand there waiting for the applause to die down. I'm like,
oh, Lord.
I understand you're happy to see him, but we came here to see him perform. Let's let him perform.
Yeah. The one that comes to mind that was just kind of random was I saw the last revival of 1776, and they added, and because it was the whole cast from Boston except Carolee Carmello, who was a bit of a name in the city at least, and so they added a random like moment where she stepped forward just in case there were people there to applaud her.
Like you said, you got to plan for these things because it's
You do.
probably going to happen. And if it doesn't, I think that's the smart way to do it. Is if there isn't that applause, it's not awkward. But if there is, it's not ruining the flow of the show.
Exactly. It feels, in this case, with this song especially, it feels very organic.
Yeah.
She's coming, she's coming, she's coming, she's coming. Oh my gosh, she's here.
And that's kind of the dividing line between the first half, which is all about Miss Arden, and then when she arrives, she takes over and attending to her customers as was it, every woman's a beautiful rose, and who am I but their devoted gardener?
Right.
It's just she is such a brand that she has cultivated of being this very high class luxury thing that is kind of more of a spa atmosphere, and that's what she's selling.
Yeah, just and there's such a level of passive aggressiveness though in some of this, just like in some of the lines that she has are just like, I'm from the South, and it's a little bit of like, oh bless your heart, we're
Yeah.
gonna fix that.
Yes, even though she is from Canada,
Right.
so it's definitely creating a personality.
Oh hey, we're gonna take care of that.
Yeah. And there's more of the kind of overly stylized things like,
Choose your activities, ladies. Oh dear, what shall I do first? I'll try them all.
I find it very funny and I enjoy it every time I listen. But like you said, this is the style of the time because we're in the 30s and it makes sense.
Absolutely.
So Christine Ebersol gets her number first, I guess presumably because Elizabeth Arden was more established before Helena Rubinstein. But
Yeah,
then,
she was already in the city. Yeah.
yeah. And if anybody's hearing woofs behind me, I apologize. Dogs always know to wait for the video call to do their playing.
Name a famous Hollywood face. My skin foulage restored. Wallace and Edward Horton.
How much?
Don't ask, or you can't afford.
So now that we've had Elizabeth Arden's number, we get the Helena Rubinstein number back on top. So now Patty gets her moment to come down a gangplank and be the diva for this song.
My favorite YouTube comment that I've ever seen in my life was for a bootleg of this song where it just says, Patti LuPone enters, incoherent belting for 3 minutes. Patti LuPone exits.
Yeah, I mean, Patty, we love Patty as a performer. Like I said, we won't get into the other stuff, but
Yeah.
she's already known to have less than crystal clear diction, and adding an Eastern European semi-Polish accent definitely creates some moments where you don't understand what she's saying, but you don't care because it just sounds great.
The sad fact is that Europe's gone insane. To add to this, I have such family strain. My sons don't call, my husband cheats. Now they can't pay their own receipts. I'm back on tour.
Yeah, I feel like though for those of us who are fluent in Patty's diction, it's clear. Like I understood it, but I'm used to how she pronounces things.
Yeah.
So it's like, but yes, I can imagine if you're like hearing it for the first time, especially in a theater where the sound isn't quite maybe as clear, it can be a little bit like, what did she just say?
Yes. I think this is an interesting, we're getting a lot of information, but I feel like it is presented well to give us the story of how she came to be where she is. You know, she got very lucky with the stock market and used that money to kind of catapult her business and establish herself in New York, not just in Poland. And it is a nice way to feel like we understand who this woman is, because Elizabeth Arden is still a brand name that people know, but Helena Rubinstein, I think it, you know, at one point it was bought or merged and the name is not a current brand. So
Right.
fewer people know her than know Elizabeth Arden. So I think it's appropriate to get more of her backstory here.
The scan I chart from a hairline down to chin. Find out which group you're in. The normal triangle is on. Flake it dry or blemish down. Beauty science like it's never been.
It's also like, you know, very like organic to their characters. You know, Elizabeth Arden is a little bit more, like I said, passive aggressive,
Yeah.
but like very like a light touch, whereas Helena Rubinstein just seems to be like a bulldozer, just to be like, we're gonna do this. I mean, it works, and musically it works as well with Christine's, you know, more lyric soprano mixy thing, and then Patty just like belting like there's no tomorrow.
Exactly. So we're getting their story. We're getting hints of Helena Rubinstein having overcome already many things with anti-Semitism, and that will be a recurring theme throughout the show. The fact that she and Elizabeth Arden are both fighting battles. We get a lot of symbolism to try to pair them together, but
Well, and famously, they never met in real life, or at least allegedly.
as far as we know,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Come on, for now, they'll stand in line and damn it, you see Rubinstein is back on.
She's back.
I'm back.
So after this song is My Secret Weapon, which I really find it interesting how they're strategizing, both good things and bad things, because they each have their own idea of what makeup is supposed to be.
Come to conquer fashion and also occasion, as the French would say, cherche la femme. Fight the march of time and look sublime with new estrogenic hormone creme.
Helena Rubinstein is a more medical approach of age-defying, restorative, that approach to makeup, versus Arden is selling luxury. And she mentions in a later song that the packaging costs more than the product itself because it has to be the highest quality. But then we're also getting things that they're doing to try to increase their sales that are maybe not quite as ethical. Things like
New twin youthifiers. Double your buyers.
How?
Two variations on a theme.
On?
One jar is the day cream. One jar is the night cream. Different labels. Same cream.
I like it.
it's like, well, that's less than ideal, but it was effective.
Yeah, I mean, people still do that some of my friends who are constantly doing face masks and things like that. And I'm like, I don't feel like you need to do that every day, or twice a day, but I mean, whatever. I mean, it's also a thing of if it makes you happy,
Yeah.
that's the other thing. And that's the thing with makeup is it makes they created an ideal where makeup helped make people happy.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, in the ideal situation.
Yes. We
Feel better maybe than happy.
Yeah, sometimes happy though.
Yeah.
It's our secret weapon.
Our secret weapon.
Release this urgent to the trades. Evening, day, and sport pinks.
Boudoir and resort pinks.
Now announcing 12 new shades.
Pink for every month of the year.
We do finally now in our third song get our supporting men introduced. And I think they made very good choices with Douglas Sills and John Dossett. They are both well-established, big names within Broadway, maybe not as much outside of the more devoted fan base, but they both have
Right.
quite the resumes. And they have the kind of voices that fit this style and this time period very well. And they're both
Oh, absolutely.
they're both just trying their best to support the woman that is dominating their lives, with John Dossett playing Elizabeth Arden's husband, who is, as we'll find throughout the show, not happy with how he is not recognized for his contributions, but he's kind of like the business person for Elizabeth Arden's creative side. And then Douglas Sills is just kind of generally an advisor, I guess, to Helena Rubinstein. And we'll learn that he is gay, and this is not an ideal time for that, with things being illegal and all that kind of stuff. So we'll get more into that in a bit, but you're starting to see hints of those things here throughout this song.
Yeah, I mean, it becomes very apparent quickly, and I think they do a good job with this. The men are subsidiary to the women.
Mhm.
They know that, and they are okay with that until they're not. It's like there's a big push and pull, and and again, not to talk about facts or fiction, but that is true as far as we know. I mean, they truly were supportive until they weren't. I mean, it
Mhm.
kind of went that way.
Yeah. One thing that does bother me a little bit every time I listen is when Douglas Sills says twice as good, and it's kind of like he has a Bronx accent for a quick second, and then he's back to his mid-Atlantic type, and I'm like, what was that? I don't understand. We couldn't have done another take of that, but oh well.
It's Douglas Sills. He maybe he was feeling his oats that day.
Yes. I really appreciate the stylistic change later in the song when Elizabeth Arden is kind of mollifying her husband for being valuable to her and he's her secret weapon. And it's very beautiful, but it's also just very effective storytelling wise to have this stylistic change from a very jazzy number to a much sweeter sound.
You're my secret weapon, top secret weapon. You keep the business in the black.
When no one can see me.
Making nice with buyers, calming down suppliers, filling in the skills I lack.
My name on the masthead, maybe.
Well, and again, it's very true to the character because Elizabeth Arden, we've established, is a much more flies with honey than with vinegar kind of personality.
Yeah. To whatever degree that is authentic, who knows? But that is how she presents herself, at least.
Right.
And then after that, we have My American Moment, which, again, musical storytelling, when it's done right, is really effective. This music is constantly shifting between kind of feeling confident and almost seedy. Like, it's kind of a reflection of Helena Rubinstein's struggle to overcome the prejudice in her life. And we're getting that tension of sometimes it's feeling very reassuring and positive, and other times it's kind of, I don't know about that.
This is the time to reach my goal, my American moment. I hereby take a role.
Yeah, I mean, this show often makes me want a prequel because, especially with Helena Rubinstein, because she just seems to have lived such a full life before we get to this point.
Yeah.
And it's like, I want to know, like, she escaped. There's so much. And Patty brings all of that, like she brings her past to her present, which is very, it's obviously, very smart as an actress, Juilliard trained actress. She knows what she's doing.
Yes.
But yes, I would agree. There's an interesting push pull between like this, like seediness, which, one could say that's very American. And this is a song that I don't often remember, but it keeps the story going, so to speak.
Yeah, for sure. There's various bits of dialogue interspersed with this that is very necessary for moving the story forward. We get a monologue from Helena Rubinstein explaining kind of her family situation and her personal relationships and why Harry, her number 2, is so important to her. And then we get dialogue between them where one of the Twilight men with their soft hands and their green carnations came to her and tried to extort her to keep silent on what Harry is doing. And this is definitely causing tension between the two of them. So we're getting that throughout the number. But there's a lot of great lyrics along the way too, and really beautiful scansion that when it's done right just feels so good. Like, I love the line,
I'll show them they have faces of power and resplendence, a backbone and a basis to assert that independence.
like, it's beautiful. And it's Helena, again, trying to do the noble thing of having the makeup empower women. To whatever degree that is achieved is debatable maybe, but she did at least have that goal.
Yeah. I don't know what it is, but there is a level of throughout this piece that Rubinstein in general feels some weirdly more authentic in like her views on makeup. And Arden feels a little bit more like performative. And I don't know if that's just because, the nature of like Rubinstein is more about the actual product, whereas Arden is more about the showmanship of it all. But it's an interesting kind of parallel, and it makes them interesting, to put in a show together, but opposite each other.
Yes.
Can I count on you, Harry? One man on my own.
Count on me. I'm with you every minute of every day.
As you should be.
I need a life of my own.
So this is an example of, like you said, in the real life, they never met. In the show, they don't meet till the very end. But you don't want to see them never on stage together. So they'll have a few of these kinds of moments where they're like at adjacent tables in a restaurant and overhear things. And that's kind of our cheat, I guess. So in this case, Elizabeth Arden overhears enough of this kind of tension and strife between Helena and Harry that she makes Harry an offer to come join her behind the red door. And then she's got the really, like you said, passive-aggressive line at the end of, the American woman will remain with me, after Helena has been saying that she was trying to have her American moment and have the women see her as American.
Right.
And it's very cold, and it kind of shows people with privilege knowing that they can just keep the status quo and keep their privilege that way. And even neutral actions can further oppression, which is a lesson that we still, a lot of people are learning.
I mean, yeah. Enough said, really.
Yeah. And it definitely is in character for Elizabeth Arden.
So, she's not doing great for Canadian relations sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I think she largely tries to distance herself from that most of the time.
Exactly.
Because she also wants to be seen as American. And because she is fairer, she gets an easier pass.
Exactly.
Might I suggest you take my card? If you aren't too busy, call me when you're free. The American woman will remain with me.
So now, after Harry has had his blow up moment, we get Step On Out as the next track, which this is the guy's chance to shine with a nice jazzy little number. And Mr. Arden is being referred to, which he's Mr. Lewis, but the staff will sometimes call him Mr. Arden because he's subservient to her, and that's bothering him. Harry's bothered from the last number. And so they decide to go out and paint the town.
Wanna mingle with the fast crowd. Quick flings, good times, no strings. Wedded bliss, what baloney, man ain't made for matrimony. Ta-ta-toots, tough look, mama, I'm a louse, no doubt. But when you step on me, old lady, I step on out.
We get the competing definitions of the phrase step out as both going out and cheating, which is, again, fun wordplay throughout the song to have multiple levels of things going on at the same time.
Yeah, and it's also, we love it's not quite a montage, but it's similar. It's kind of an idea of like, we get to see them both doing the thing that will then get us to where we need them for the next moment in the show.
Yes. Yeah, and it's definitely fun, very high energy. I like that you said montage. It does have that kind of a feel, like we're moving around to different locations, and it's a good way to describe how it feels in that moment.
Yeah, you're seeing Tommy going out with the women. You're seeing Harry doing his thing, and then they kind of cross paths and, sing harmonies together. It's great.
Yeah. I think this is more a quirk of me than the songwriting, but the end of the verses has always felt very strange melodically to me. Like we never leave the key, but it feels like we're kind of wandering and not sure where we're going for a couple measures.
I know what you mean, yeah.
And
it's a strange choice.
Yeah, it's not my favorite, but it is at least interesting and very jazzy.
Step on out, wave a fiver, hail a cab and tell the driver up to Harlem's Cotton Club and make it snappy too.
Yeah, and like you said, these two are like such stalwarts. They can sell anything.
Yeah.
It's like selling a used car with them. It's really, you buy it because they're just so good at what they do.
Mm-hmm. And in the course of the song, they both end up switching allegiances. Elizabeth Arden tells Tommy that he should go check into the Waldorf, and she'll call her lawyer tomorrow. And Harry is not happy with how he's been treated by Helena and now has this offer for Elizabeth Arden. So he accepts that offer, and Tommy now goes over to work for Helena Rubinstein. And I believe that is true. Which is wild.
It's insane. It's one of those crazy, like, true, like, life coincidences. And not as spies, suppose. Literally just not maybe exactly what happened, but it's like the fact that they switched like that is kind of insane. Especially because Tommy was married to Elizabeth. That's a little crazy.
Yeah, it's very... Sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction.
It's true.
Yeah.
The man you hoped I'd be. So sorry. He just stepped
The next track is If I'd Been a Man, which feels kind of random somewhat on the album if you haven't seen the show, I think. In the show, we've seen more examples of sexist behaviors and double standards towards the women. So this makes a little bit more sense.
Right.
But I've heard some people, especially ones who've not seen the show, who feel like this song is kind of self-pitying more than anything else. What do you think?
It's not my favorite song. I will say that. And I think the melody is beautiful, and I think the lyrics are good. I think throughout the show, that's pretty much I don't think there's a bad lyric per se. Everything's pretty like on point. I think it feels the song is too long, at least on the album. It's like 6
It
minutes.
is a longer song. Yeah.
And like to me, it feels like what they're trying to get accomplished could be accomplished in like 3.
Yeah, that's very fair. It definitely goes on a bit longer than it needs to.
Nothing to lose, no role to choose, because a man on the move doesn't need to prove his worth, knows his place from birth since the world began.
But I also get you want to give both women the equal amount of time to like vent their feelings, and then you get the harmonies at the end. This is a moment where we have the two of them singing together. So you
Mhm.
and those are few and far between in the show. So
Yeah. I do have a lyric that I wince at in this song,
remind me.
which is when they're kind of singing over each other a little bit, but Arden sings,
Not a chump, a contender. If I'd been a man, it's the curse of my gender.
it's the most obvious rhyme you could ever have.
Sure.
And when you see a rhyme coming a mile away, it's just kind of like, it took us so long to get to this rhyme that I knew was coming already.
Yeah, for me, it's like this song fulfills the mission of what it's trying to do, but I don't think it does much more than that for me.
Yeah. I do really like the end of the song where we get a whole tone scale ascension, which for a lot of people, the whole tone scale does not feel right. It feels kind of unnatural.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of seems like a metaphor for women rising too quickly in society, that it's uncomfortable for people. And I don't know if that's what they're going for, but I like that whole tone scale that ends on a beautiful chord still.
Oh, yeah. No,
You
again,
go from
yeah.
discord out into beautiful harmony with the two of them.
Oh, absolutely. And like the flute of Christine and the trumpet of Patty,
Yeah.
they blend beautifully. It's actually kind of astonishing.
It is, for such powerful voices to, often have trouble being in a crowd.
Right.
It's nice when they can work together and fit so well.
Yeah.
Would I win if I had been
The next track is Better Yourself, which in some ways has a lot of the main thrust of the show, like of the messaging of the show. And this is Elizabeth Arden taking a young woman and basically trying to counsel her on why she should do her makeup better. And the idea is that you need to be taken seriously. And there's a tension throughout this song that some of what she's saying is good advice, and some of it is more judgment and placing too much value on beauty. Because it's like the difference between your appearance determining your worth versus your appearance possibly getting in the way of people getting to know you to know your worth. And I think it's intentional to kind of walk that line of some of what she says, you're like, oh yeah, this is beautiful. This feels good. And others are like, oh, that line doesn't feel quite nice to me.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
You have the power to reinvent yourself and become anything you'd like to be. The first step, your appearance.
It's a concise song. It's like it does exactly what it's needing to do. And it gives Arden a moment of, we get to see her interacting, one, with a woman, because a lot of this show feels like it is just them interacting with their man and then like the general public.
Yeah.
And then at the end, of course, the other lady. But it's a nice kind of moment of, again, you seeing this kind of weirdly like poisoned honey kind of personality that Arden has.
Yes. And I definitely get some little Edie from Grey Gardens when she says, quite a design. And I love it, but it's like, okay, we're pulling the old bag of tricks.
We pull from our toolbox as
Yes.
actors.
Look at your dress. Quite a design.
Waving your asset in public is tacit to wearing a sign. Open for business, taking checks or cash. But once you better yourself, you won't be taken for trash.
And then as she's kind of leaving this interaction, such an artificial exit of, now if you'll excuse me, I've mountains to climb. And it's like, that is so put upon, which is exactly how she is. Everything is kind of an artifice. It is well planned and executed to maintain an image.
What I think is true about both of these women in this show is that we understand why they behave the way they do, but we don't necessarily clearly they are behaving in sometimes very negative ways towards other people. And it's like it's warts and all,
Yeah.
which I appreciate because I don't think, because these women, because they are pioneers and being these moguls as they were, you could easily make it like a real, like, these women did this and did this kind of thing. But they also show that they crushed others under their heel as they climbed the ladder of
Yeah.
ascension, so to speak.
Yeah, definitely. Another line that I really love in this song is when I think she's talking to Tommy at this point in the song, but
Poor little kid, wanting in charms. You know the kind as demure and refined as a fire alarm.
it's so well put, but the ending of that phrase is surprising, which is always,
Yeah.
as an audience member, kind of perks you up and keeps you on your toes. And it just, again, scans so well, great internal rhymes. I really appreciate how many of those kind of moments there are throughout the show.
Well, it shows the intelligence too. I mean, it showed not only of the lyricist, but specifically it shows the intelligence of the characters, which is what you want from the lyrics.
Yeah. I don't know, but I would suspect that a lot of good lyricists really love when they get to write for a smart character, because then they can show off more and have it be in the voice of the character, versus if you're doing an average person, you can't use all these $10 words that, okay, this character definitely would not know that word.
Well, it's the reason Sondheim hated I Feel Pretty.
Exactly. So when he gets the more upper crust people and he gets to show off, I would imagine it's got to be more fun to flex those muscles.
Oh, of course. I mean, that's the great joy of lyric writing is is that kind of, it's like math.
Yeah. Or a puzzle, which again, Sondheim loved the puzzle of lyric writing, I think.
Exactly.
Of course, I've met her myself. That young go-getter, myself. And maybe better myself before I bettered myself. With all this style.
The next track now is Oh, That's Rich. So this is the two gentlemen exposing the secrets of the woman that they had been with before and their ingredients to the products that they are selling. And at the beginning, when Patty is reading the ingredients in Arden's face cream, the rhythm is oddly slow and jerky when spoken. Like the rhythm works fine when it's sung, but she's kind of monotone and it just feels awkward.
The glycol, the boric acid, the humectants, the glycerin. So?
But then when Christine does the same thing in the next verse, it's interesting. She has more range, which is natural to the character. Like she's going up and down and it's not sung, but it's definitely got that kind of quality to it. So it feels more natural.
Mm-hmm.
Reduction of rendered lamb fat mixed with pine bark, the woman's mad.
Keep reading.
Which I think is definitely intentional to have Helena come across as more stilted and not beautiful poetry, but more utilitarian. And Arden is making grand paintings and using her words to set a scene. And I think it's definitely showing the kind of women that they are.
Well, I mean, Helena fancies herself a scientist.
Mhm.
So it's the difference between like a scientist and a showman.
Yeah. There's some things in shows where I'm like, I don't understand why you're reacting this way. And they're acting like it's the end of the world that she has the same ingredients in her face cream as the lotion that she uses on her horses. And they're like, oh, she uses her horse cream on human faces. I'm like, or she thinks her product is so good for humans that she wants only the best for her horses too. But I guess that's not as interesting.
Look, if you actually thought of, I mean, look at the ingredients and some of the things we use. Just don't. It's people. People would freak out more often.
Yeah. And yeah, we'll get to that number pretty soon
Yeah.
because at this time in history, it was not required to put ingredients on things. So everything was a trade secret. And you can see why they did not want some of this to become public because some of it sounds really bad.
Right.
Oh, that's rich.
The scientist from the shell. It's pure kitsch. The chemistry she invents.
That sly bitch. Should Congress expose her witch's cattle, her cachet?
Will sink in its own pretense.
Harry.
I do love, as we're going through, we get Elizabeth Arden shocking us by saying that sly bitch because she's been so polite and high society refined till this point. And we're starting to see maybe there's a little bit more underneath than we've been getting shown before.
Yeah, it's planting the seeds to be paid off in Act 2.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's strange throughout this, they're both going to the senators about the other one's products. And I'm like, okay, you know what your products are too. And you know that the other side has the secrets that you have. Why are you going after this? It's going to hit you as well. Like, you're just asking
Right.
for friendly fire. But I don't know. It is fun to have them kind of going back and forth. Although, like you said, they're each just talking to their respective men about the other one. But it's a very fun, bouncy melody. And I really like the orchestrations in the song.
Yeah, it's very pleasant. That's what I feel about a lot of these, like, more like the plot kind of songs in the show.
Mhm.
That they're very pleasant and easy to listen to so that you can get the information, which I think is nice.
Yeah. And that's part of what makes it easy to follow as a story, because you're getting that in a song form on the album rather than in the book scene that's not included.
Right.
Just one hitch.
Elizabeth Arden will not cower.
Now they know the Rubinstein's finest tea.
This then leads us to the big power end of Act 1, Face to Face, which is this our I Want song? Because, there really isn't, it's not structured as a typical musical in that sense, but this is kind of them both saying, I want someone who understands me.
There's so much I would wish to ask her, for better to appreciate my case, reveal what's real beneath the war paint, just us two, talking face to face.
I hadn't thought of it that way, but that's actually not a terrible way to look at it, for sure. It's an interesting song in that, whether this is true or not, we don't know, but like, they've made the choice that these women see in the other woman what they don't have.
Yeah.
Whether it be, as we've said, they're very different women in how they approach their business and their lives. And I love the moment in the song where they've been singing about, and then they're like, well, what if, and staging wise, when they kind of cross into each other's planes,
Mm-hmm.
and Arden's talking about the paintings that Rubinstein has, and Rubinstein's talking about the different high class perfume.
Yeah.
It's an interesting, like, metaphor for these two women. If they had only, like, put aside their petty egos, they could have probably been really good friends.
Yeah.
Which impressionist is her favorite?
Which French perfume does she prefer?
Could we possibly ever bridge the distance?
Fight united for once in coexistence.
And you kind of get the sense that neither of them really has friends at all, because they've been so driven by their business that having female friends and being part of that society image would have been seen as weakness at this time.
Well,
Well,
as we
they're-
said, they're only talking to their men, their
Yeah.
respective men. They're not talking to anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, there could be stuff that we're not seeing in the show, but
Sure.
the
of
personas
course.
that we're getting make me think that they're probably not talking to anybody else, and they're just so isolated, and that's got to be very hard, because with the If I'd Been a Man, they don't have the luxury of having anything slip up, because then they would be taken down immediately. And like you said, if they could have just gotten together and been friends with each other, they probably would have done just great.
Yeah, they would have definitely filled the other one's faults, and like, they would have made a good team.
Yeah.
Does she ever stare through empty, awake and lonely? Regret how we came to share each other's one and only.
Does she know how good I think she is enough to goad me? Or get how I overcame the obstacles life showed me?
I think it's a very smart choice to end Act 1 with this, because this is what we came for. The two amazing voices belting at each other and at us. It's why we're all here. So give it to us at the end of Act 1. I love a good Act 1 closer.
Well, and the harmonies at the end are just really beautiful. And again, they blend beautifully and yet allow each other to shine in what their voices specifically do really well.
Yeah. And this is their Tony's performance number, which, if you watch that video, it's not quite as pleasant at the end, especially the mixing, like the sound is not perfect and Christine is not loud enough. But on the album, we get them perfectly balanced. It's definitely a mic issue at the Tonys.
There's some weird thing. I mean, there's some weird choices. I mean, Tony performances are always weird. They're
Yeah.
just, I don't feel like, especially post 2000s, I don't necessarily think there's been a few, but not nearly as many good Tony performances.
Yeah. And it's also just crazy how expensive it is to perform at the Tonys, and so not every show does it because it may not make sense financially to try to
Yeah,
do
no,
that.
it's true.
But it is nice for if you're trying to figure out what you're going to see when you go to New York, or if you can't get to New York, to see what's out there and get a taste of it. I don't really care at all about the Oscars or the Grammys or any other awards, but I love the Tonys.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like I said, I mean, I've normally been working in the summer, but we always make it a point if you're especially if you're on a contract somewhere, you try to take the time off to watch the Tonys. It's like the Super Bowl.
It is the gay Super Bowl.
Standing face to
So now we are in intermission, and then we come back for Inside of the Jar, which is a short little welcome back to Act 2 number. But I think it's a smart way to bring us back in, and we're both kind of catching up on remember what was going on, but we're also getting some new information in how these women are responding to that. So I think it's a smart way to open Act 2. And I do love the symmetry of having the same group of women opening Act 1 and Act 2. And basically, after the antics of Oh, That's Rich, now it is required for companies to put their ingredients on their packaging. So now everybody's reading the labels and they are pissed.
In our cream, I'm afraid there is white powdered borax. That's the poison my maid puts on bugs in the floor cracks. On my face, cockroach dust. On the customers who trusted what they put inside of the jar. Inside of the jar.
All these
Right.
things that some of them maybe are bad, some of them just sound worse than they are. But it's a new world that no one is happy about.
It reminds me when restaurants were first required to put calorie counts on their menus.
Yeah.
They're like, "What?"
No, we don't want people to know that.
Yeah, I know. Oh, it's great. It's so sad.
Yeah. But it's a fun little kind of forgettable song, but it works well for what it needs to do.
It does exactly. I was about to say. It does exactly what it needs to do, and that to me is like it fulfills its mission.
Mm-hmm.
Inside of the jar.
And then now we get into necessity is the mother of invention. So we're into World War II. And most of the song is giving kind of a vague impression of a military march, but not actually being one, which I think is smart because we're alluding to the events that are happening, but we're not going outside of what would feel natural for these characters.
Right.
No silk for bows, no nylon left for hose. American ingenuity can compensate for those. Necessity is the mother of invention, and in war we must be on our toes.
It's, again, this is maybe a nerdy thing, but I enjoy hearing about the ways that the rationing of World War II affects industries that you wouldn't have ever thought about. Like they're talking about how previously the containers for lipstick and other things were metal, but now metal is needed for bullets. So they're switching to plastic and they're spinning that as, oh, well, now it won't dent. And isn't that great? And so they're finding ways to, like, out of necessity, they're creating new products and new strategies for marketing, which is maybe a little in the weeds, but I do appreciate it and I enjoy it.
No, I think it's the reason. It's why I find period. I think a lot of reason people find period pieces interesting because like if you're at all historically interested at all, nerdy as you put it, it is interesting. I would never have thought to look that up, but it's true. You look at even today, you look at like lipstick, and it's very rarely do you. It's always usually plastic.
Yeah,
Hard plastic, but plastic.
Yes, and I think it'd be easy to assume that that was just done because plastic was cheaper. And maybe that's why they kept doing it after the rationing was done.
Right.
But it wasn't just that when they made the change. So it's fun to hear those kind of stories. Like you said, that I wouldn't have even thought to look to go find those stories.
All metal tubes and cases for lipstick, rouge and bases are needed now for bullets for the war. New plastics I invented, now lipsticks won't get dented, not even when you drop them on the floor. Right?
So with all the good intentions that they have had, we do see the occasional things slipping through of they're not entirely honorable. So using eyebrow pencil to draw a line on the back of your legs to imitate the appearance of nylons is definitely just enforcing an artificial beauty standard because you want the aesthetic of this thing, and you can't have that thing, so we're gonna have a workaround. And it definitely feels like there's no way to spin that as luxury or as medically necessary. This is just to maintain an image. So as much as they want to think that they are doing good for the world, they are still part of this industry that is doing these things.
Well, sure. I mean, capitalism will capitalism.
Yes.
Go float on air in heaven sent, a fragrance free of lead. A lipstick for your uniform called Montezuma Red. Assembly lines use Rubenstein's new bulletproof mascara. The wax used art in combat packs traversing the Sahara.
But it's a lot of fun in the song as we're getting both of them kind of rallying behind the troops and using that to their advantage, of course, to show that, oh, look, Elizabeth Arden supports the troops, and Helena Rubinstein's products are making their way across the world. And I think it's a more complicated song than you would think. And I think that's for the better because it makes it really interesting and not a slog.
Absolutely. One thing you can't accuse this song of is being a slog, for sure.
Necessity is the mother of invention. Brains and brawn, lust to dawn, women will.
And then after that, we get a reprise of Best Face Forward, and we're establishing a time jump here. So we're now into the 50s, I believe, right? We go directly to the 50s?
Yes, I think that's right.
Okay. And we're seeing that the world that they established and dominated is starting to crack and crumble. The rise of makeup counters in department stores, it's not all about coming to the Arden boutique. It's not as, they're not the titans that they were because there's now more competition, just consumer habits are shifting.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're starting to get the sense of things are not what they used to be.
The old gray mare just ain't what she used to be.
Yeah. But they do still have their devoted adherents that will go back to them and continue to use their products. So they're not dead yet, but they'll come into play more later in the show that this is the beginning of the end.
Still the brand I prefer overall is my own branch salon of Miss Arden. Rubenstein suits me fine. Beg your pardon, I am putting my best face forward.
And then next is Now You Know, which another near miss between the two ladies. And this time it's Helena overhearing Elizabeth Arden, and she's just been denied membership to a club because she's a woman without a husband. So this is now Helena singing to herself, but singing to Elizabeth Arden, who's not actually there, about, now you know what I've been dealing with all this time. Neither of us are wanted in this circle, even if it's for different reasons.
I really like this song. Like, this song grew on me. Like, not that I didn't like it at first, but like it took a minute. But when I was really listening to it, I thought it was very well constructed. It's a very well constructed like musical theater moment of like a character like doing what we do in musicals, which is a lot of times we are reflecting, and yet it feels like there's a it leads to a point.
Yeah.
Which is just how a good musical theater song is, because you can reflect, but it has to begin one place and somewhere else. And I think, and whether this is a combination of the writing and Patty's performance, I think she ends in a place where she realizes at the end more that we have more in common. Like she starts off very accusatory, and by the end, I think she's more sympathetic.
Yeah.
Live and learn, dear lady, now enjoy your turn. But from places I have been denied.
And I think the song also builds very well, both in the writing, the orchestration, and the performance, because it starts off very quiet and small, and you get to these grand moments near the end where it really opens up, and that's really helpful for that journey that you're taking throughout the song. And like you said, we're establishing they have more in common than they think.
You may be fairer than me, a good deal blonder than me, but socially they value you no fonder than me.
It's also like, I mean, Patty's, like, I think they each have like 3 solos in the show or something like that. And of her 3, this is like the least like belty.
Yeah.
So it's it becomes a different shade of her voice,
Mm-hmm.
which shows a different side of her character, just inherently by how she's performing.
Yeah.
I mean, she gets there at the end, but it's still not nearly like, it's not back on top where she's just, feet to the gas, or Forever Beautiful later, you know?
Yeah,
It's like
definitely.
it's definitely a more reflective moment. And it has one of my favorite lyrics in the show.
A woman scales the wall, climbs high above them all, and oh, what gates of hell they put her through.
I love that this little turn of phrase.
Yeah.
It's just really beautiful.
Yeah, it's a lot of that kind of stuff. And a lyric that I really like in this is, I mean, obviously, Helena Rubinstein has had a lot more discrimination being Jewish and being a European immigrant, not just from next door in Canada. And so then near the end, she says,
Now you see, great lady, how it's been for me. Some circles are restricted to you too.
and I love that it's pretty neutral. It's not enjoying Elizabeth Arden's pain, but it's also not in any way comforting or trying to be like, there, it's going to be okay. It's just an observation like, interesting. We're both in this situation and now you know how it feels. And I think we're not making her malicious, but we're not making her a teddy bear that she's not, which is a hard line to walk, I think.
Which leads to a great resolve at the end when she's like, now you know, God help us how we know.
Yeah.
The way that life can twist a knife in you.
Oof. Yes.
It's a good, it leads to a good moment, I think.
For sure. And then next we have No Thank You, which is both ladies resisting attempts to modernize their businesses. And at the beginning, it's Harry and Tommy, respectively, trying to convince them to change strategies to appeal to younger consumers. And neither of them are having it.
No, thank you indeed. Makeup applied in haste. What has become of taste, elegance, and class? Quick is not my speed. Easy is seldom so. Would you serve Chateau Margaux in a plastic glass?
And we're kind of getting, again, the tension of them being partially right. You know, Arden is arguing that a luxury brand will lose its luster if it is putting out a cheap product, which is true. And, you know, there's another option, which is used more commonly of have a separate line that is not the same name, that you can still enjoy the business without tarnishing the name. But maybe that wasn't as much a thing back then.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. I guess, a lot of lines do that now. Like you have like the luxury brand and the more like take home brand.
Yeah, like, I mean, I think it's Lexus and Toyota are the same company, but it's just different experiences that you want to get. And for Helena Rubinstein's point, she is saying, my whole thing is defying age. Why would I need to give that to young girls? And that's true. But these convictions will come at a cost if you're not trying to expand your business, because it's very tough to just maintain. So if you're not trying to grow, things are just going to kind of shrink, which is the unfortunate realities of capitalism again.
Yeah, and you have to create, you have to create new consumers somehow.
Yeah, especially when your primary customer base is older, you're going to deal with them dying and you need to have replacements.
Yeah.
A line I really enjoy is when Helena is talking about all these things and what's going to happen.
Pushing prepubescence into early adolescence, where do such things lead? But I wanna read Playboy magazine, and it starts with Maybelline. Oh no, thank you. Oh no, thank you, indeed.
I love marijuana weed.
Well, they have the advantage that Helena is not a native English speaker.
Yeah.
So they don't use it a lot, but they use it to a great effect during the show.
Yeah. I think they use it the appropriate amount to have it not feel like a shtick, but we just get moments of flavor here and there, which is fun.
Well, it's just like how she literally says, right? That's
Right?
like one of her catchphrases.
I love that so much. It's throughout the entire show. It's great. So both turn down the plans from their advisors, and then they're both approached by the $64,000 question, wanting them to sponsor, and both say no. And they're both taking the approach of kind of, I'm too good for you. Thank you. Goodbye. Which, again, in the 50s, maybe it wasn't quite as acceptable for luxury brands or whatever to be sponsoring a game show. But this is feeling a little bit more dismissive rather than the earlier part where they are concerned about being consistent with what the company is. So we're kind of seeing it's not all about values. It's sometimes just a little snobbery too.
It's also we as an audience have hindsight.
Yeah.
It may be considered a flaw in the writing that we are ahead of the characters on stage to a certain degree, but I also think that creates a certain level of dramatic irony
Hmm.
that we know that this is a mistake.
Yeah.
And now we have to watch them kind of fall from grace to a certain degree.
Yep.
Mr. Paley, I have nothing but respect for you and your light bulb box transforming daily life. Though my clientele is clearly not correct for you, take this token of esteem to give you a vibe.
I couldn't possibly.
I insist, is sapphire like her eyes.
And we start to see that in the next track, Fire and Ice, where Revlon is now a new company and they took the offer and are sponsoring the show. And so we're getting Charles Revson, the founder of Revlon, singing this song with his assistant, who is the woman that Elizabeth Arden had told to better herself earlier. And this is a fun, dancey number. And I really love Eric Lieberman's voice.
I do too.
I really love him on the Hunchback of Notre Dame album. And here, like, he's just very pleasant to listen to.
Do women in sable excite you? Do you close your eyes when you're kissed? Do you hope the next man you meet is a psychiatrist? Would you wear a sheath and nothing beneath without thinking twice? Do you have the daring to try fire and ice?
I know Eric parasocially.
Oh,
and
very
he's,
nice.
And he's such a sweet man. But he's remarkable in this show. Granted, he has this one song, but it's a banger, and he makes the most of it for sure.
Yeah. Talk about making an impact with a little moment.
Yeah, I think he had other things to do in the show, obviously, but like
Yeah,
small
acting-wise,
things.
but not on the album.
Yeah, but this was his like featured moment, and he makes the most of it for sure.
Yeah. And I love we're getting both women watching on TV and seeing what has become of their choice not to take this opportunity. And I really love Helena being all,
You put the fire with the ice. What do you have? A puddle. This is so exciting.
I was glad you brought that up because that's very funny.
because it's like sort of catty, but also she's really like, I don't get the appeal. Why are people liking this?
Right.
She's just doing that in a very bitchy way, which I love. Again,
Of course.
by gay men for gay men.
Yeah, it's true. There are moments where you're like,
Yeah. And then as they're seeing this happen, they're getting news that their businesses are starting to slip. They're being dropped from stores. Their sales are down. So we're seeing right away, yep, you may not have made the right decision here.
It's very Greek tragedy in that sense.
Yeah.
Each week as my net worth increases, those ladies are crumbling to pieces. I sell women's sex for $1.99. The new world of Revlon is finally mine.
One thing that bothers me is at the end, so the song is set up as, are you a Revlon girl? Take our questionnaire. And at the end of the song, it's if you answered yes to 8 out of 10 questions, but they asked like 20 questions. So I'm not sure.
Oh, sure.
I'm not sure why they said 8 out of 10. Like, just give the number that you asked. Oh,
But maybe it scanned better.
it does. 10 is much easier to fit in than 20. Oh, well, I'll forgive it.
Again, it's a banger of a song. It really is a shot. It's a shot of fire and ice. No pun intended. But
Yeah.
it truly is like a pick me up in the second act for sure.
Yeah. And if I recall correctly, it's quite the dancing that's happening throughout all this with not only the two of them, but they've kind of backup girls that are oohing and eyeing and just kicking up a storm. And it's very, very fun.
It definitely feels that way on the album.
Yeah.
The secret between you and I.
Fire and ice, fire and ice.
And then instead of that, we go into Dinosaurs as the next song. I recall this being more fun on stage, but on the album, this is a skip for me.
Yeah, it's an acting song. It's definitely an acting song. It's a moment. You need to give these two men who we've been with the entire show, you need to give them something to send them off into the sunset before the end of the show.
Yeah. And give our divas a break before the final stretch.
Sure. Yes, they're about to get their 11 o'clock numbers. They need to get some water.
Yep.
And, again, yes, it's not a great, melodic song, but the two of them are clearly having a ball.
Yeah. They're making dinosaur noises and just being absurd, which is fun.
Wham! Smash! Epidermis Rex! Raging in confusion at the modern world of sex.
And it is nice for these two guys who, yes, they've been a little duplicitous and switching sides and things like that, but overall, they've kind of been like the audience surrogate for a lot of the show.
Mm-hmm.
And they're kind of saying things that maybe we've thought throughout the show about these women.
Yeah.
I mean, what they're saying is not wrong. It's maybe mean and they're drunk,
Yes.
but it's not necessarily wrong.
Yeah. And they both saw what was coming and couldn't convince their respective bosses to heed their advice.
Yeah.
So they're right. They're now dinosaurs going extinct.
Ruthless, but as toothless as their roars. They're dinosaurs.
And they're also being men of their time. I mean, not that men aren't misogynistic now, but they're drunk and they're being a little bit of men of their time.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of how they refer to these women. But that's appropriate for what it is.
Yeah. And I do like Epidermis Rex.
That's very smart. That's very funny.
That's a funny line.
But again, I agree, it's not necessarily, if I'm listening to the whole album, I listen to it. If I'm just picking songs, I don't necessarily listen to it.
Yes, very that.
Never was any bigger since. Maybe the Smithsonian should mount their friggin' footprints.
And then once that's out of the way, we are in the home stretch and we get Pink. Oof. This is just gorgeous. Gorgeous music, great lyrics, amazing vocals, the acting that she is bringing to this. This is Elizabeth Arden having reached the end of the line, basically, where she is now having to sell her company because it's not viable to keep it afloat on her own. So this is her lamenting that all they wanted from her is her name and the color pink, which after a lifetime of really hard work, that would really hurt a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's all in the first line. Is that all I'm worth to them? A color.
Yeah.
What's fascinating about this song, and I remember listening to an interview where Christine talked about it, is that this song told her how to play the character for the rest of the show.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think I said earlier, that there's like moments earlier in the show where you're like, why is she making that choice? And a lot of that is kind of revealed in this song. Like moments of like where she's finally allowing her walls to come down and you see like, oh, she's put up so many like walls of this persona. And now in this moment of desperation, she's finally letting them down. And it's almost like we're seeing the real Elizabeth Arden for the first time.
Yeah.
Pink, my legend branded with a rose, immortalized in poesy. Pink.
So I admit I will frequently lament how dumbed down a lot of modern shows are. They don't trust audiences to appreciate subtlety or references that they may not get to some degree, whatever degree that's true. It's something that I feel like I've noticed a lot. But then in a show like this, I love that we're getting the opposite of that with the lyrics of
Pink, that flush of ardor in a man's embrace, my would-be baby with a rosy face, and rabbits from the test who perished for a nursery converted to a guest room dressed in pink.
like, it's just it's not explicitly saying, oh, I always wanted children, but I couldn't have them.
Right.
It's trusting that the audience will connect those dots. And even if you don't get the reference to the rabbits, you can appreciate what it means. And it's okay that you don't get every single bit of information out of it.
Well, and that's also where the interpreter has a lot to do with that as well. And I think Christine does a marvelous job of making sure that if you don't necessarily understand every reference, you get every intention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And for anybody that's wondering, the old pregnancy test was injecting a rabbit with a blood sample to look for a reaction that would indicate having the hormones. And so anytime you did a pregnancy test, a rabbit died. And for all the rabbits that were killed when she was trying to have a baby, it's weird how not that long ago that was.
What a weird world we live in.
Yeah.
It's just, oh, God.
Yeah.
When I was just a farm girl in Ontario, could anyone have known how far I'd climb? A multi-millionaire not so long ago, the Derby winning
clever girl of time.
So Christine Ebersole is one of the people that I think of when I'm talking about how you can have, well, to back up a step, in the scoring, like we talk about the performance aspect of it and the acting bit of it. And a lot of times you have to give up one to get the other one better.
Right.
There are certain individuals, with Christine Ebersole being one, that she has so many different colors in her voice that she can use to tell the story and still be technically perfect. Like we can get the very light, beautiful soprano, or angry, or belting, or she can do all these different things, and we get so much of that in the emotional journey of this song.
She's in total control of her instrument.
Yes.
Both vocally and dramatically, like her physical instrument. And I mean, she is one of the best that we have in the business as an actress who sings. And she really is an actress who sings. And she could just sing, and she does. You know, she has cabaret acts, things like that. But when she's on a musical, she acts through song. Like there's almost nobody better. And she's kind of underrated, I feel like, in that sense.
Yeah. I mean, she definitely has less exposure than others who are known for that.
Well,
She's
I
more
feel like,
selective with her projects, which is,
yeah.
if you can, go for it. Like, do what you want to do.
Yeah, and I think it's also just a matter of like who hits when, kind of like, you know, but I feel like there's an alternate universe where she's as big as like an Audra McDonald is. Because I do feel like they have a lot of similarities in that regard of like being very good about being open wounds on stage.
Yeah.
Like just being truly like vulnerable on stage in a way that is very difficult to do.
Yeah. And I think the Audra comparison is very appropriate because the timing of it, you know, Audra had roles early in her Broadway career that kind of catapulted her right away.
Yeah.
Like, you know, her Tony-winning performance in Carousel she was very young at that time.
Yeah.
Whereas Christine Ebersole, I think her first cast album credit, at least, is the 1980 revival of Oklahoma, which, you know, that's not going to get you a ton of attention as I think she was Ado Annie.
No, she was, yeah.
And like her early credits just didn't have the same oomph. So you have to build that up. And I think that makes it harder to get to that same level, even with the same talent. So timing really is everything.
Yeah, it's right place and right time because talent will only get you so far. But I mean, she's got 2 Tonys, so she's doing
all right, yeah.
But it is an interesting, like, you know, kind of. She is one of those people who, like, when I think of who's her best like actresses who sing, and she's definitely like she comes to mind immediately. Her, Audra comes to mind, Donna Murphy, people like this, and like 2 out of those 3 women, you know, maybe only a couple of all us in the theater know, but maybe outside of the theater they don't know who they are. You know, Audra has a little more exposure outside of theater, but not extensively.
Yeah,
but, you know,
still,
but more.
Yeah, a little bit more at least.
Yeah, so it's an interesting phenomenon, and like this is. Again, they wrote this score for what they do well. And what Christine does well is sing perfectly while also just allowing herself to unwrap, like just emotionally unravel.
Just break your heart.
Yeah, that's what she does really well.
Yeah.
She did it in Grey Gardens. I mean, another winter in another town. It's
that.
Song.
It's
Yeah. Yeah.
The emotion that she brings near the end of the song in...
My shoes, my furniture, my clothes, my life, la vie
Oh, that's the way that's the lyric.
That anger that's right there is so palpable. And then we quickly shift into being kind of a more wistful place. Like she's not stable. She is trying to grapple with so many emotions that she probably has not let herself feel for a very long time. And we're getting all of that so beautifully.
It's a very relatable moment where something so relatively small can trigger like a full nervous breakdown because if you've been pushed so far and then I mean, granted, she's losing her company, all that sort of thing. But the thing that pushes her over the line is that they only care about this fucking color.
Yeah.
Pardon my language. They only care about this color. And that's what sends her off the edge. Yes, it took all of this, you know, I'm losing my company, I'm losing my legacy, and this color.
Yeah.
It's the color, really?
And then, especially, you know, that's how the song started, and we end with, well, I never even liked the color.
Yes.
Do you think, like, I kind of go back and forth. Do you think that's true, or is this just kind of sour grapes?
I think
Because she delivers it in a way that you really can take it either way, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's the point, because I do think it's a little of both. I think it
Yeah.
is a little. I'm sure you can't, as a great salesperson, you have to like what you sell to a certain degree, or you can't really sell it.
Yeah.
I don't think believably, or you just have to convince yourself you like it, I should say. I think, I don't know, but I'm comfortable in that ambiguity.
Yeah. And it might be one of those things like, oh, somebody mentions, I like frogs. And then they get a frog gift. And then, oh, they like frogs, get another frog gift. And it just becomes, that's their thing. And it's like, well, yeah, I liked it. Not this much, but I liked it a little bit.
Right.
So it could be in that kind of thing that she liked it. And then it just snowballed and it's like, well, this is what I do now. I do pink.
Yeah, that's probably, and I think that's a lot what it is. It's just like, and I also know like that line reading has evolved, because like I know when it was in Chicago, it was much less, there was less bitterness to it. It was much more just kind of matter of fact. Well, I never even liked the color.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, she's clearly like thought, and of course, this is the full evolution of the piece, but I like that it's kind of, there's a mixture of bitterness, but also like something that I maybe did like, and now it's been taken from me but I don't like it. It's the same. It's how we are as humans. It's a very human response.
Very much. So beautiful.
Yeah. It's definitely one of the highlights for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I never even liked the color.
We'll go on to now Patty's big 11 o'clock number, Forever Beautiful. And this song is basically just her reflecting on her life through all these portraits that she has had painted of her. And she's like, well, my family sucks, but this will be my legacy.
Right.
And that's, it's a form of immortality. And you can kind of read into it a little bit differently how much she actually believes that versus she's telling herself that.
Yeah, that's kind of the interesting thing. And again, I think they were very smart in how they wrote these two songs, not only for these women, but for the characters as well. I do think that the character of Helena Rubinstein that we've established is somebody who would very much try to talk herself into, like, oh, this is bad, but we're gonna talk myself, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna, it's like America,
Yeah.
And I think that's, you get that sense for sure. And also, as we talked about, her life up to this point that she's dealt with, she's really thought about death a lot.
Yeah.
Like death is something that's been with her for a long time.
Yeah. And I forget why, but there are these two men in her house and they kind of make a comment about, oh, she's kind of going crazy. Well, when do you think anybody's last visited her? And then that causes her to kind of lose it on them. And that's where I feel like there's almost cracks starting to show of, I'm telling myself this, like leaning into a little bit too hard for.
The lady doth protest too much.
Yes, very much that.
But again, and also to take it back to Pink writing a song that fits exactly what Christine does, this fits what Patty does as an actress and as a singer really well. Patty does self-denial and it's why she was so good as Mama Rose.
Yeah.
Or and as Evita too. It's like there are this level of like delusion, like self-delusion. She's very good at self-delusion.
Yeah.
And that's not a comment on her as a person. That's just like what she does really well on stage. And then of course that voice that was just at, what she was in her late 60s when this was done. And like the fact that she can still belt like that is kind of insane.
Yeah. I think of Patty in that same camp of very strong actresses who sing. Like, especially from a cast album standpoint, I love cast albums that she's on because you can hear so much of the characterization through how she sings and delivers lines.
I agree with that.
My dolly dear, that man's a realist. He made me beautiful, forever beautiful. My eyes like gems, notice please each tiny lash. Would you believe he painted with his own mustache?
So it really is, like you said, this was designed to show off exactly what these two women can do, and they do it very well.
Yeah, and that last, like from the look at them all through to the very like end of the big like when you feel beautiful you are, that section is like powerful, not only vocally, but it's also like what she's saying is like you feel kind of the self-delusion, but also like there's a certain level of pride in it and as well. It's very human.
Yeah, and the orchestrations are kind of frenetic at that section to kind of show that something's not quite right here, which is, again, I also love orchestrations that are helping the storytelling. But this is a very funny song, unlike Pink, which is just heartbreaking. There's
Which
a lot
again
of,
is something Patty does really well. Patty's very funny.
yeah.
Made women glorious, made women glamorous. Used all my art to halt the march of time. I slowed it down a bit, there is no stopping it. But in a painting, it is always your prime, right?
So like she's talking about Salvador Dali painted his portrait of her with his mustache, and this person did this and this person did that, and
Lempicka.
and that this, for those of us that love war paint, we knew the name of Lempicka long before the musical, and thank you Patti LuPone and the creators of this show for that.
What's funny is like I worked that show when it was on Broadway as an usher, and like then I happened to be listening to this show, and I'm like, oh, that's who it was.
Well, also, yeah, the way she says it, like Tamar de Lempicka.
I know, it's again the Polish
Yeah.
Polish-is accent.
Yeah. And then I really love the line,
With my Picasso, his early cubist years, I pose no clothes with him. Thank God who knows with him. He says your ears are like elephant in size. I say from you, well, who can tell from ears or eyes?
Oh, it's so funny.
it's so good. And again, to your point, using the English as a second language to have not quite technically correct semantics in the sentence structure, but it makes the rhyme work and it fits the character.
With you, who can tell from ears or eyes?
Yeah.
Oh, so funny.
So good.
And that's what's great is like you have all these kind of like, for lack of a better word, kooky old lady, like talking about her paintings.
Yep.
But then it leads to such like a dramatic, like this is all I have. I have to talk
and
about
she's
them.
so dramatic with, if death comes for me, they bar the door on him. Like she's using very grand language throughout all this as well.
It's very European.
Yes.
Look at them all, that light will never dim. If death should come for me, they bar the door on him. The flesh may fade, canvas lives immortally, and that I'll hang from all through all eternity.
But also just as on a singer front, I love, because there's bootlegs of her singing this song, which I mean, woe the person if she caught them. But I love how she attacks the last "When You Feel Beautiful You Are" on this album, because she doesn't do the straight toned vibrato. She just hits it right on the head with full Patty vibrato, and it's amazing.
Yeah, as only Patty can.
And it's clear, and it's and it's clean, but it's right in the middle of the pitch, and it's just, you're like, this is just open my vein.
Amen to that.
And I am beautiful, and I feel beautiful, forever beautiful, when you feel beautiful.
And now we finally get the two of them meeting in Beauty in the World. So in the show, they are, I guess, both presenting a keynote address at some conference or something. And
It's a long scene, isn't it?
yeah,
It's like,
it's a long scene before this song. And because they're kind of like in the green room and they finally meet. And who knows, this kind of thing could have happened at some point, which is what I think led them to be like, well, what if it did happen? What would it look like? And that's why they wrote it the way they did.
Back when there was beauty in the world, women had such elegance and grace.
it's also just like we've like teased the audience the entire show.
Yes.
Let's just give them what they want for like 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm. And it's a very pretty song, but it's not, after the two power numbers that they both just had, this isn't quite the same level of energy as Face to Face, which, that's not what the moment calls for.
No.
But it is a very beautiful song. And
It's definitely it's a denouement. It's very much like it feels like an epilogue. It kind of feels like
yeah.
a little bit like this is kind of where we've landed.
Taste and poise were universal. Now it's noise, a dress rehearsal. Gone the past, the age of everlasting beauty.
Yeah, and it's a lot of they're just saying people used to care about these things and being proper and whatever, and I'm always to varying degrees of interested in X, Y, or Z used to be better, and it's like usually the good thing was being propped up by a bad thing.
Sure.
So it's hard to people talking about how great things were in the 50s unless you were anything but a straight Christian white male.
Right.
And but I think songs like this, you can try to find a way to bring to reincorporate the good things without bringing the bad along with it. And
Right.
so there's something beautiful about that of we can still try to be elegant and put beauty back into the world even if the rest of the world has forgotten it.
Time plays funny tricks on you and me. I never dreamed we would be standing here so near the end. My lifelong foe, my never friend. Perhaps we helped each other to survive.
The thought I had when I was re-listening to this album was that this is the serious version of the song Class from Chicago.
Yes, very much so.
It's like, what if we made that song but took it really seriously? And I don't necessarily mean that as as a negative thing. I think it's the same kind of sentiment, but taken as I said, not as a wink to the audience, but more of as a genuine feeling. Because these women would felt that. I mean, it's true.
Yeah.
They would have felt that way.
Yeah,
They would have felt
because
forgotten.
Wilma and Velma would have felt the way they expressed it. It's true to the characters.
Yeah, exactly. So it is a moment of like I said, it's them reflecting, but also kind of weirdly being okay with where they are. There's a lot of human moments going on
Mm-hmm.
again in this song, and I think that's one reason why I think it works. That it's not this big bravura number. It just feels very small and intimate in a way that
Very much.
is nice.
Yeah.
Especially because we've come off of these two barn burners of songs.
Yeah. I really like the exchange of my lifelong foe, my never friend.
That's good.
It's very poetic and beautiful, and it's exactly how they would refer to each other probably. It's great.
Absolutely.
For true knew true beauty in the world.
And then we get a little finale after this song, which is them kind of being like, well, we're not going to tell anybody that we met and that we're actually friendly. So that
Our little secret.
no one will ever know. But we get the line,
Did we make women freer, or did we help enslave them?
Perhaps they will forgive us when they look at what we gave them.
and this is what I kind of wish was set up more throughout the show
Yeah.
instead of just bringing it in here at the finale, because that's a very interesting thing to dive into and explore.
Yeah, and I do think there is a through line of that in the show for sure, but it is definitely not in the forefront. It is definitely in the background.
Yeah, because it's more about the customers, and the show is focusing so much on the two of them
Right.
that I understand it would be hard to bring it in and not lose things that are there, but oh well.
Yeah. It's a nice moment to leave the audience on. It leaves you thinking about something at least.
That's very true. And it's, again, kind of a continuation of that epilogue feeling where
Mhm.
they walk to the opposite ends of the stage because they're going to enter the stage separately like they never met. And we just kind of go, oh, it's like they're riding off to the sunset almost.
Mhm. Well, and they're old by this point too.
Yeah.
This
I
is
forget
like
exactly
they're
when this is supposed to be set, but they're very
this is
much older.
I think I remember in the bootleg Christine has a cane.
Mm-hmm.
Patty's limping, although that could have just been because she needed a new hip in real life. But so there's a lot of moments so it is very bittersweet.
Mm-hmm.
Our little tete-a-tete.
It never happened. Our secret.
So that's the album. The show ran for 236 performances at the Nederlander Theater. There were no replacements in the cast because really, I think the show works because of the personnel on stage. So have it be a more limited run and it's just going to end when they're done. I think that was probably the smart thing to do instead of try to limp along after them. Because really,
Well, I
who
mean,
would you have
and
replace them?
Well, and it also closed because Patty needed to get a new hip. I mean, that's literally why it closed.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Oh, poor Patty.
I know. So sad.
Yeah. The show got 4 Tony nominations, both leading ladies, costumes, and scenic design. No wins. For you, who is your standout performer in this album?
I go back and forth between the two ladies, obviously. I tend to, on most days, lean towards Christine just because, as an actor myself, I think I identify more with how her performance style and like what she does as an actor. So I think that just speaks more to me. I am obviously a huge admirer of what Patty does because it's insane what she does.
Yeah.
But outside of the two of them, I'm actually inclined to say something about Eric Lieberman, only because I do think that song is a real banger, and like talking about coming in clutch in the
Yeah.
last half of the second act
Yep.
and like making an impact and then taking your check and going home.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Nice little princess track.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, I would also say Christine Ebersol. Part of it too, I think, is we have so many fewer cast albums to listen to her than we do Patty.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, oh, it's a little bit more rare. And that's nice to have that and have it be so beautifully preserved.
Well, and even some of the ones she's on, I mean, aren't like widely available. Like her 42nd Street is not like widely distributed.
Yeah, and that Oklahoma revival is not one that people remember very often.
No, and I mean, I've listened to it. She's great, but it's Ado Annie. She's doing Ado Annie in a pretty traditional version.
Yes, that was a very traditional revival for sure.
Yeah.
And what is your go-to track? If you only had one that you could carry out of a burning building.
I have two, and I have to say two, only because I think it's the one that I would carry out a burning building is Pink. However, I also listen to Back on Top a lot while I'm walking around the city because it's like, yes, I'm going to take on the world. Back on Top. Here we go.
Yeah.
And of course, she's talking about being back in New York. So it's like, it's very like, come on, we're taking on New York.
Very fair. Yeah, for me, it's going to be Pink. I think this is the first time in the recordings that I've agreed with the guest on these two items. So it's undeniable how powerful that song is and Christine is in that song.
It's really an aria. It's less of it's what it feels like. It feels very operatic in that sense.
Yeah, very true. Let's do some scoring, shall we?
Woo!
All right. So for composition, music out of 15 points, what are you going to give it?
You know what? I think I'm going to give it a 12. I think it's not like, I don't think it's like, because, by the standards, if it's like, I don't think there's never been better music on Broadway, but I think it's very good and very listenable. And it's well written, as we've said.
Mm-hmm.
I think Scott Frankel is a very smart composer.
Yep. I also went with 12. Very similar reasoning. For lyrics out of 15.
Lyrics, I went with a 12 as well, because I feel not dissimilarly about Michael Corey's lyrics. I think they're very like serviceable, clean rhymes. Yes, there's a few like groaner moments, but what score doesn't have that?
Yeah.
And I think they worked for the characters very well. We talked about the use of not native language speaking for Helena, which I think is very smartly used in the lyrics. So I think 12, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm going to do 12 and a half because I was kind of going back and forth 12 and 13. There are enough things that stand out that make me just very happy that I definitely gets a higher score than a lot, but a lot of it is just serviceable and doing exactly what it needs to do without showing off because that's not what's needed in that moment.
Right.
So, performance, virtuosity out of 15 points.
I went 15.
Okay.
I think everybody is at the top of their game, not just the two ladies. I think Douglas and John are at the top of their game. Eric, as we've said, is wonderful. I think overall the entire score is beautifully performed instrumentally. I think I know they added a few instruments from what they had in the pit.
Yeah.
So it sounds really lush and full. I think 15, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll go with 15 as well. This show is all about these performances and they deliver. So, having a smaller cast makes it easier to get a higher score too, because you don't have many ensemble people that could potentially bring it down. And the ensemble does a great job in the few tracks that they're in this show.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They have a lot of personality.
Yeah. And for personality out of 15 points.
I mean, I'm not to try to sound like a broken record, but I think I gave it 15 for this because I think I agree with you with these characters. I think they're all very well conveyed. I mean, you have these amazing performers with very clear characterizations written by the composer lyricist team. And I think it's just it sounds like a broken record, but I think it's just with that in terms of performance, it's pretty like unparalleled.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah. I put 14. It's very, very good. I think there are times with the guys that it's not quite as at the same level as
You're
having
not
Christine.
forgiving Douglas's Bronx
I am
accent, are
not.
you?
No. So I can't quite give it perfect marks, but it is very, very good.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Into theatricality, storytelling out of 15 points.
For me, I gave it a 10 because the first time I listened to this, I personally had a little bit of a hard time following it. Like the storyline, I understood like the intentions of each song because I think they're very clearly like defined, but like I was personally missing some of like things weren't clear from not having some of the book in there, which I don't
Okay.
want book on an album necessarily. I get that. But sometimes there's ways to like add a line here or there, add a something, especially because there's several in the second act, there's several time jumps as we've established.
That's true, yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely interested. I didn't know ahead of time if you had seen the show or not. So I was very curious what the experience was like for somebody having the album only to go off of for the
Yeah, I listened to the album first and then I went and watched the bootleg so that I was able to kind of understand kind of how the album translates the show. That's,
Yeah. I went with 13, and maybe that's not fair because I'm being biased by the fact that I did see it first, and
oh,
I feel like it tells maybe not the entire story of the show, but it definitely gives you a story
yeah,
and a very compelling story from the album alone.
yeah.
So, yeah, for emotiveness out of 10 points.
Out of 10 points. Oh, I think definitely like this is one I think is definitely a 10. I think the emotions come just from the material, but then you also have these performers, being able to really it makes me feel so many complex things just listening to it.
Hmm. Yeah,
Just Pink alone makes me feel like 10 different emotions.
that is very fair. Yeah, I'm gonna go with 8. I think some bits of the show feel less authentic. Again, especially with the guys, maybe how they're approaching things just doesn't hit as strongly for me. But I mean, like you said, Pink alone just automatically puts it near the top.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get that.
And then in our other miscellaneous categories, for inventiveness out of 5 points.
I think this is a 3. I think it's a very like we've talked about the music, but I think other than the music and the high level of that, I think it's a very, biopic generic kind of like idea for a show. Let's tell the story of these people. That's just for me.
Yeah. I'm going to go with a 1 because this to me is an example of we're not going to reinvent the wheel. We're just going to do the wheel very, very well.
Fair.
And, it sounds like, a lot of ways similar to other scores by this pair. And yeah, being a star vehicle is not a new thing. So I think they focused on executing perfectly instead of being completely original, which I am totally fine with.
Yeah.
For clarity and usability out of 5 points.
Oh, I think 5.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty flawless in its production.
Yeah, there are no mixing issues, no weird tracks or weird this was included versus not. I think it's just very solid there.
If you could just get over Douglas's weird accent on that one line.
But that's not the sound production design.
That's true.
It's not that team's fault. For curb appeal out of 5 points.
Oh, I think 5. I think this is exactly what you want. I mean, it's the two women's faces on the it's exactly what's on the 10, so to speak.
Yeah, that's very fair. I went with 3.5. I think it is representing what you're going to get very well with the two of them being the giant faces. That's what the show is. Aesthetically, it's not my favorite, but it is doing what it needs to do. So I'm not going to go lower than that. But
yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So that brings our scores to 84 for me, 87 for you. So 85.5 as the average.
Oh, great.
Very solid.
Yeah, I would say that. That's a good word for it. I think it's a solid album.
Yeah, and regardless of how you feel about the show, the album is incredible. I love it.
Yeah, I listen to it all the time, particularly like those 11 o'clock numbers.
Oh yeah, I could listen to Pink. I remember actually not long after I saw the show, I was just like driving around listening to Pink over and over and over because I wanted to make sure I could sing every line perfectly. And at the end, there's all those different shades of pink. I was like, how can I order right?
It's like Joseph's coat, and it's like the colors of Joseph's coat. Oh,
yes.
Lord.
Not quite as many, though, but very similar.
No.
Well, Jonathan, thank you so much for being here. This has been so much fun to talk about this diva show with you.
Oh, well, thanks for having me. I love the podcast. I was just happy to be a part about and talk about this really fun show.
Oh, excellent. If people want to follow you, stay up on top of what you're doing, what's a good way for them to do so?
You can follow me on Instagram at JS Chisolm, CHISOLM 22. That's just for my performing, my, I've got some things coming up that I can't quite announce yet, but there's some very exciting things. And I also post, things of me singing and, things like that kind of stuff. So if you're interested in like musical theater nerddom, give me a follow, give me a like, whatever you like.
Excellent. You can catch the podcast on Instagram at Little Things You Hear Together, or email me littlethingsyouheartogether@gmail.com. Please follow the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Rate and review, very much helpful. Check back next week for another album from this packed season.
Woohoo!